Coming to you straight from the Rio Grande and beyond, broadcasting to the four corners of the globe. So grab your seat, your coffee, or your sundowner.
Okay, everybody, here we go.
On point, as always. This is Gloves Off. Gloves Off. Gloves Off is always on point. On point. Bringing you the best on current issues, community affairs, and the happenings around us. This segment of Gloves Off is brought to you by the best, so pay them a visit. Check them out. This is Gloves Off.
Gloves Off, and today I have a great friend, Jay St. John. How we doing?
Good, man.
How's everything?
Really? Are we on the air?
We're on the air. We're live. Now you can go ahead and talk and
wow.
touch base. Folks, we're here talking about life in Laredo, and we have a pioneer.
A pioneer,
because you're a pioneer.
Oh.
Before the podcasting and radio, and let's just talk a little bit. How'd you get started? Why? Why did Jay St. John become Jay St. John? What happened?
Well, here locally, I was in radio when I was a kid, but then I got a real job because I was told that I wasn't very good at it, and so I went to. I finished my degree, industrial management degree, and I worked for Hollywood Ribbon in Los Angeles, which is a manufacturer of decorative packaging and ribbon and bows, a fun industry. And when I retired, I came to Laredo. I was going to stay here 1 year to learn Spanish. I throw myself in the mix, but I'm originally from San Antonio. So I came down here, and I just happened to run into the program director of 94.9.
Sure.
He said, "Why don't you come in and audition?" So the next thing I know, I'm doing the morning show, which was the #1 show for a long time, and then I went over to 99.3, which is Radio Rama, and I started getting into talk radio because I like politics. And the things were so screwed up around here, but you just could not get up in the morning and not want to make fun of these people. So there was plenty of players to make fun of in city council and in the county. So I started doing that, and that went over very, very well. But now I'm trying this podcasting, like what you're doing.
Sure. And I remember when you and Sergio Mora got me involved, and I want to thank you guys. But so it was a whole different field. Come on here and talk, and we're going to talk about self-defense, community awareness, all that stuff. Excuse me. But what I saw was there's a whole bunch more of the community that people need to be aware of. And everybody tries to push that forward. Everybody talks about it, but nobody does anything about it. And you have for the longest time, so I want to commend you on that. But what do you see now in the podcast? How's it going? What do you think, or podcast is actually like a radio inside the internet, correct?
Exactly. Podcasting is internet radio. What you're doing here on Facebook is video. Podcasting is internet radio by definition.
Okay.
On my show, which is, by the way, we're having a new show start today, the Laredo Citizens for Good Government is fading out. It will no longer be after a couple of weeks. I mean, I'll broadcast on the border, but the new page is on the border.
Yeah, folks, so go follow On the Border on Facebook.
Yeah, well, no, you can't help it. If you go to Laredo Citizens for Good Government, you're going to go to On the Border. But I'm still going to share the broadcast on Laredo Citizens for Good Government, but I'm going to start covering from here to Brownsville. Like, for example, today, nobody knows about it, nobody's talking about it, but here we have another manufacturing company moving into McAllen, 150 jobs, good paying jobs, and what are we doing? And we also have a new call center in McAllen for 285 jobs that they announced today. So, you know, they're moving along and we're not. And so there's just not enough material or content for me to just be doing Laredo. And I know that people out there like to hear me talk about comparing what the Valley's doing compared to what Laredo's doing. We're not doing anything.
No, we're not. You know, a lot of people say we're the number one port now. Okay, period.
Well, that's despite the local government.
You know, that it just happened.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Logistics.
It happened.
Yeah.
It became. But what happens is that McAllen has been eating our lunch for years.
Yes.
You know, I was in Reno, Nevada several years ago, about 2006. I was doing a seminar and there was, in the same place, there was a convention for robotics. Okay, people doing robotics.
Mm-hmm.
And so we said, you know, we have a couple of hours, let's go check and see what the robotics is. So we went into that convention. And we're walking down one of the aisles, and all of a sudden we see City of McAllen.
Mm-hmm.
And they were passing out brochures. And they were talking to individuals that were doing robotics for manufacturing plants. They were talking to people to go to McAllen to start businesses in McAllen. We didn't see Laredo out there. So back then I knew that McAllen was moving forward, and it has. Now Eagle Pass is doing the same thing. Del Rio is doing the same thing. Everybody's going to try to beat Laredo. Unfortunately, we still have that one. We're the number one port, and we'll continue to be that for a while until some other avenue or some other road or some highway is going to be made. Then that's when things will change.
Well, Laredo is blessed logistically.
Sure.
And we have a lot of great natural resources here that we don't really take advantage of. What the problem is our government. Our government is reactive and not proactive. And we pay Laredo Development Foundation, who's supposed to be an intermediary, to bringing in people that want to invest. And we can't even fix up our own downtown. So your downtown is your badge. And when you have a downtown that's 40% empty and falling apart and nobody's doing anything about it, I mean, this is my pet peeve with Laredo. I want downtown to flourish. And the only way that can happen is if you have investors that come down here. But what happens when investors come here, like Eagle Copper did 10 years ago? How do they treat these people? They treat them with their hands out, like, what's in it for me, these politicians. So the word on the street is, don't go to Laredo. They're hard to get along with. They don't want to really do any business. And I honestly believe the people, the establishment here, they don't want Laredo to grow. The people that have all the money here, and there's a lot of money, there's a lot of people with money here, they control the narrative. They control the politicians. And they don't want growth. Look at the jobs that we have here. And they brag about the unemployment rate, but your unemployment rate, I was talking to a kid at Whataburger the other day, he's making $7.50 an hour. And that's normal for, you can't make a living on $7.50 an hour. So you're either in the trucking business or the transportation business, or you work for the government. And then you'll make a decent wage here. But we don't make anything. I mean, it's like, what? We're right here in the middle of the United States of America down the throats of Mexico and into Central America and South America, if we could ever get down that far. But we're not proactive. We don't know how. These people do not know how to create new businesses, or do they want to? That's the question.
You know, I'm going to interject right there because I'm in agreement with what's going on, and what you just said. It's the truth, and we have a lot of folks that when you tell them the truth, they think you're insulting them. It's not an insult. This is what reality is.
Well, you know, I've been fighting that for a long time, Paul.
I know.
The apathy here is so thick. You know, people don't even want to call into your show because they're afraid that their voice will be recognized, and if they work for the government, they'll get fired.
No, you're absolutely correct. We have that type of oppression here.
Yeah.
And that oppressive type of government is here. I do not think it's the public officials by themselves. I don't think it's them. I don't think none of them go in to say, you know what, I'm going to screw my fellow radio and I'm going to screw somebody else. I don't think that happens. I think what happens here is you have a lot of directors, and we've talked about this before, that have been there 20, 25, 30 years, and they're still controlling it. So they control it like a de facto boss. This is my department. You have to go through me. So they have that culture already embedded in there, and I think that's what's hindering Laredo. You see it in the parks, you saw it in the waterworks, you see it in a bunch of other ones. So when something comes up and you tell a city councilman, that's my opinion, this is wrong over here, they get insulted. They think, oh, it's my fault. No, we're not attacking you. We're just telling you that there's a problem here. Look into it. And all of a sudden, they have a kite day, or they have come roll in the grass with your kid and have hot dogs, and all of a sudden they're happy-go-lucky, you know, the department's fine, or they'll do something for that. I think we really do need to, like, I'm going to take our president, he's doing a hell of a job. I'm going to take his drain the swamp. We have to clean this cesspool.
Well, I thought that the city was doing that when they asked all these people to retire early and give them a half or a year severance pay or whatever it was. But I thought that was the idea. But then it turns around, you know, you have the deputy chief city manager who retired, Cynthia, and now her daughter's walking into the front door wanting to take over the human resource department. You know that story, don't you? Mm-hmm. So favoritism and nepotism is still running, is still right on. I mean, they're still doing it. And I don't think Laredo, look, I'm very disappointed with this current city government. I think they do a lot of backslapping. They're not doing the things, the basic fundamentals of running a government should do. First of all, you have Pete Sines, who's a nice guy and everything, and he sings mariachi, he likes to dress up like, you know, sometimes I wonder why didn't he just go to Mexico? He loves it so much there. Now we're sister cities with a state in Mexico. You know, it's just a lot of backslapping going on all the time, okay? And everybody congratulating one another for whatever, but there's no real legislation coming down the pike, you know? I mean, there's just, we're stagnant. We're stagnant. And we have been, like I said before, we have been blessed with all these wonderful resources. Logistically speaking, we're right in the middle of the United States and Mexico. Yeah, I understand that trade is kind of since 1994 and NAFTA, trade has been the main breadwinner for this community. But without trade, as I had one truck driver call me and tell me one day, if it wasn't for us truck drivers, Jay, you'd just be another taco stand in the middle of the desert. Laredo, Texas. I thought that was offensive to me, but if you look at it, the way his rationale. Yeah. So yeah, Laredo grew despite itself, but these people, you know, every time they want more money, now the thing is they're going after your water. They got no place else to go.
Yeah, we'll touch base on the water, but let's go back with the taco stand with the truck driver. You know. Back in the 70s, Nixon and Ford removed the base. Everybody thought Laredo was going to collapse. We survived it. And then we had the peso devaluation back in 80, 83, 84. And we survived.
Well, why wouldn't we?
But, we had to. We had to, but what I'm trying to get at is...
Mexico's the one with that problem.
Sure, but what happened was we had a lot of people here that were investing the money over there and vice versa. Well, anyway, though, what I remember, the conversations back then, I was a kid and you just listened to all the conversations people were talking about, that there was not going to be, Laredo was going to go under and so on and so forth. So Laredo, for the longest time, has understood the trucking business here, the import-export, okay? And just like all port cities around the world, there's a criminal element to that. Okay? And the criminal element has flourished here for a long time, has grown a little bit more. But what I see is now you see a type of, no, that doesn't happen. Let's look the other way. It's been going on forever. Okay? What do you think about, and we'll talk a little bit, what do you think about the security on our border? What do you think about the wall, what happened that's going on now? What do you think?
The security on the border?
The wall. Everybody wants a wall, and just Laredo, majority do not want a wall. How do you, what's your idea?
We could talk for an hour on
just
border security and illegals. And, I think people are kind of sick. I think they get bashed with that story every day. And, it's the difference between right and wrong. When you come over here illegally, you're breaking the law.
Sure.
There's a lot of good people that come over here, Hispanics especially, that did it the right way.
And they're doing
it. And I thoroughly believe in obeying the law. Okay? We're a nation of laws, and we should abide by those laws the best we can. But when you just open the gate and let what these people are running on now is just insane. Just open the gates and let anybody in who wants in, and then on top of that, let's just also say we're going to give them free health care. Well, I believe everybody should be provided for, and if you get sick, have you ever seen somebody laying down on the sidewalk dying here in the United States? That's because if you go to an emergency room by federal law, they have to take care of you. But do we have to provide a health insurance plan to all the illegals that come over here for free, for nothing? And we, the taxpayers, pay for it? That makes me angry. Because the people here already that we have here in the United States that are U.S. citizens can't afford health insurance.
You're absolutely correct.
And so many don't have health insurance. So why don't we take care of what we got here in our own backyard before we start worrying about everybody else? And it's interesting to see how far to the left Democrats are going. And I can tell you one thing right now. I talk to a lot of Hispanics around here. They don't like this stuff.
Yeah.
And people that want to promote that, there's some podcasters here that want to promote, open borders, and like your Sergio Moras and your Trisha Cortezes, and they want love and peace and unicorns and rainbows for everybody. Life doesn't work that way. We all have to pay. And if you want this country to change into where they came from, just keep letting them in, and it will change. So be careful what you wish for.
What I wish for here is for everybody to abide by the laws, period. People have never said, what happens to an American that goes to Mexico illegally? How are Americans treated when they go to Mexico? Let's just turn that over. Well, number one, by experience, okay? I was 16 years old. I had cousins that live in the Mexico side, and Sergio Mora is my cousin. And we drove across to go drop them off, and I was driving back. And one of my cousins said, "Oh, can you drop off my boyfriend works at so and such bar. He's a bartender." I said, "Sure." So I dropped him off, and I was driving back. This was 7:00 at night. Get stopped by the police. Put a gun in my head. They said, "You hit the car a block away." I was 16 years old. It was in May. As you remember, I was still a senior in high school because I graduated at 16. And another police officer answered in there, hits me with a billy club. I still have a dent in the back. And they said, "You pull over." I pulled over. Well, I went to jail. Okay? And the person that got me out was Carlos Villarreal. Okay? And, when I was in jail, they lined us up, and there was about 15 others there. They took 7 of us out and they put us in a room. They had us handcuffed to chairs. They had one kid in the middle of the room. I was a kid now because of my age. I'm 50. Back then, he must have been about 22, 23. Here I am, 60 years old. I'm in the middle of all this in this room with guys sitting down. And the police start squirting mineral water to Pachico up his nose. And here I am sitting around looking at this stuff in here, and they're beating the crap out of him. Until they
So where's this going?
Where this is going is, how are Americans treated? When if you hit a car over here, and I wasn't in an accident. If you get into an accident here, just a minor accident, our police do not treat Mexicans that way. But Mexico treats Americans that way.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, I love
So-
Mexico. I used to go to Mexico all the time.
So since then,
It's a whole different
nothing to
ballgame.
do with Mexico.
That's
Now, if you go over there and have one bullet, because a lot of people go hunting here, there's way too many stories that people have been locked up over there for 20
Sure,
people.
yeah.
So.
Did you read the signs before you get to the bridge?
Right. So folks believe that it's hunky-dory, that everything's equal. So just imagine what happens if an American goes to Mexico illegally and stays there. I guarantee you won't come back.
Well, I love Mexico. I used to love to go over there all the time. It's just really a shame that you can't go over there anymore, enjoy yourself, have a good time along these border towns. And I don't know if that's ever going to come back in my lifetime, but it's the world has changed just in the last 15 years. Look at all the things. You wouldn't believe 15 years ago that the Democratic Party would be tearing itself apart from within. One side way to the left and the other side still like moderate Joe Biden. And I had to tell Joe, but Joe doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell. He should realize, stop and smell the roses and get out. But because what you have now is these radical left-wing young people that are trying to take over this country. And if that happens in 2020, I hate to think what kind of civil unrest that we're going to have. And I think we're going to have a lot of it.
You're talking about civil unrest. We're already seeing it. And we started seeing it last 2 years. And it got worse, and it's going to get worse in violence.
Antifa?
Yeah, we can talk about Antifa. And Antifa started, the first time they showed their face was when Biden lost in a Hillary convention. Okay? That was the first time they started going. So it came out of the Bernie side of things. Portland's heavy of it. Austin is heavy of it. There's word out there that Laredo's starting a Webb County Antifa chapter. I don't know how true that is. But people say they're just kids in masks, leave them alone. No, now these kids are throwing acid in your face. They're beating up old folks wearing American flag, caps with American flag print, MAGA hat. Look at the violence that you see. And they try to say, we're doing it correctly. We're not violent. You guys are the ones that are violent because you're wearing a red hat. I'm like...
No, Antifa is a domestic terrorist group. You don't run around beating up citizens because they're exercising their First Amendment rights in a peaceful way, wearing a mask, a ski mask to hide your face. Mm-hmm. So but the thing about Antifa is it's growing and growing and growing and growing. It's getting bigger and bigger, and pretty soon it'll be all up and down the border too. So what do people like you and I do that are expressing our opinions, if you will, on issues, mm-hmm. going after people that are corrupt? Don't call me a Republican. Call me an independent, a conservative. What am I supposed to do? Carry a gun? Am I supposed to carry a gun? And when the first bullet is fired, where is that going to lead this country? What road is that going to go down?
I'm glad you said the first bullet fired. Somebody sent me a message of a message of a newspaper article, talking about the next civil war of the United States. I don't believe we're going to end up in a civil war.
Well, there's a lot of people that do.
But I do believe that there's going to be civil unrest.
I never thought we'd be in this situation that we're in right now. I never thought I'd see anybody running for president of the United States talking the way they talk.
Right, no, you're absolutely correct. But so it might not surprise me. But what I'm trying to get at is the folks that are saying that there's going to be a civil war, they're claiming the first shot was already fired at that baseball game while all the Republican senators were shot at.
Yeah.
And the congressmen were all shot at.
It didn't escalate. But when is that first shot going to be fired that's going to cause the escalation?
Sure.
And, I want to tell you, there's a lot of conservatives back there, and there's a lot of people back here in Laredo, Hispanics, that are conservative too,
Way too many.
Many. And they're like just kind of keeping a low profile, but they're watching everything that's going on, and they don't like it, believe me. And there's a lot of people, you can't even, in America, if you were rooting for someone running for president, you could put a bumper sticker on your car, or you could, now you're denounced. If you put a bumper sticker on your car, you'll get your windows broken or your tires slashed. I mean, what does this country come to?
Well,
you want to talk about a fight, and if you want to fight, they're going to get a fight.
Oh, no, they're going to get a fight.
Because these people are going to wake up and they're going to say, enough is enough.
No, you're absolutely correct. Listen, talking about bumper stickers, I remember here not so long ago, 3 elections passed. If you had a bumper sticker of a judge or a sheriff, you got your windows broken, your tires slashed. So, and that was just the Democratic Party. It wasn't because there were no Republicans running. Or if you were of this side of the Democratic field to this side of the Democratic field, and you had this bumper sticker, well, guess what? You just got a ticket.
Yeah.
Just because of a bumper sticker, way too many times. So Laredo knows about bumper stickers.
And if you work for a sheriff and you weren't particularly on his side, but they required you to put a bumper sticker on your car, you got fired or reprimanded or whatever. But here's the thing about Laredo. When are people going to wake up and come together as a people, as we the people, and fight back? When you go to city council meetings, and this is a regular city council, unless somebody's getting fired, then the place fills up. Unless another city manager is getting fired, then you have half-empty seats. Nobody is a part of their government here. And when these people are looking in their nice big fat Mediterranean leather seats, and they're looking around and they're going, whoa, there's nobody here today. We just do whatever we want. And anything that's important, we'll put that way back in the agenda, like 11 o'clock at night, so nobody's watching. Or we'll take it back and talk about whatever behind closed doors. A perfect example. This is a trivial example, but maybe not to me. You guys voted on a sports complex. It was on a referendum in November. There were 2 things. There was a convention center and there was a sports complex for $10 million.
The sports complex passed.
Exactly. But have you heard one peep out of our local government about what's the next step? Where do we need to go from here?
No.
You haven't heard anything. You know why? Because they're all mad about this convention center not passing, and they don't want to give up that civic center money that's in the bank, the $10 million that's in the bank, for that. Which by law you can use it for that. Anything that has to do with tourism from that sale of the Civic Center to LISD can be used for something similar, whether it be a sports complex or convention center or whatever. This convention center thing is not dead.
No, it's not.
It's not dead. It's going to rear its ugly head back up again, and they're going to push this thing through one way or the other. They're just going to let everything kind of die down, people stop talking, and then they're going to call it a conference center, or they're going to call it something else. But we voted for a sports complex, and not one peep has come out of City Hall about what they're going to do next. Well, what's our next move? We got to get the land. McAllen just built a 13 baseball park sports complex, and they're playing ball right now, and people from Mexico and all over the country are coming down there to do the Pony League thing, and people are making money in the hotels, the eateries, and everybody's happy.
And it's
here we're over here doing nothing. Nothing. So that's kind of, don't you think that's kind of like a slap in the face? To you, the voter. But we have so much apathy in this town. Nobody wants to get together like our Laredo. They're supposedly a watchdog group.
That's a hate group.
Yeah, they're more political activists.
It's I wouldn't call them that. I would call them a political hate group. And
A hate group?
I'm going to tell you why I'll put it into that thing. Because
Did they kick you off Facebook or something?
no, you and I were blocked up a long time ago. But
I wasn't blocked.
what happens is with them is when you start doxing people, putting their personal
No.
information. When you put personal information of individuals, it's happened many times with folks surrounded or affiliated or members of that our Laredo group. When you have members of our Laredo group threatening little girls and people walking down the street because they're supporting a candidate, and there is police reports on that, that's a hate group. When you have people telling others, blackballing businesses and small businesses, that's a hate group.
Well, all I know
So-
is they're not a watchdog group. They're a political activist group. You want to call them a hate group?
I'll call them a hate group, and the reason, and many others call them a hate group as that. And the problem with our Laredo is that they might have started meaning well, but somewhere along the line they changed their ideas. They wanted to control the government. Well, you cannot be an activist and run for public office. You're either a politician or an activist. You can't be
Well,
both.
you can't be a disruptor, and they
Okay.
disrupt.
Understand?
Yeah, I understand totally. They disrupt. You know, when you have Vish going up there talking about the city charter and picking on things that to me are just like, can we talk about something else now? Other than how this word, what this word means, you know, or how this was, for example, the city managers, the interim two city managers, what they can do and what they cannot do. Okay, they cannot hire a new city manager until your real city manager, whoever the city council decides who that might be, is on board. Okay, what's the definition between an interim city manager and an acting city manager? I mean, nonsense like that. What is your responsibility as a city manager? If you're an interim city manager, you're to run the city, period. Now, you have certain ramifications that you can't go outside of, but, you know, until we get a city manager, no, you know, we cannot hire, you know, department heads. I mean, we have to have a city manager. How long have we been without a city manager? And why? You want to talk about that?
I want to tell you one thing. I think Mr. Eads, I do not know the other individual.
I'm not talking about their personalities or who they are or what they know. That's beside the point.
I think they're doing a good job.
Yeah, well, that's great. I'm sure they are. But you know, what I'm saying is you can't be a disruptor.
Right.
You know, if you're gonna be, if you're gonna get up there and stand behind the podium, stop bitching all the time.
Sure.
Bitch about every little thing. Why don't you come up with some constructive criticism and maybe some new ideas of what you would do?
I would rather see a solution. I have yet to see one solution come out of that group or anybody associated to that
That's all
group.
about bitching.
It's all about you guys are doing wrong. It's all about you guys did this. It's all about you guys did this. It's about hating this other company over here. Listen, hate, stay outside. Now, you got something personal?
Yeah, well-
Everybody knows there's a different story.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Stay outside.
Well, I know a lot of people who are looking at this and probably thinking, well, here's Jay St. John. He's talking about bitching. Well, you know, I bitch over the microphone about things, you know, and I don't like really doing that. I would love to get behind the microphone and say, man, these guys did a good job with this and this and that and that. But everything that we see that's going down, like I don't care if it's a swimming pool, the latest one.
Yeah.
The swimming pool. What do they call that?
The river, the lazy river.
The lazy river. I mean, for crying out loud. Or the library that took 7 years to build. I'm going like, can people not ever do anything right?
Are we people
And-
talking about the city?
Yeah, and so I'm bitching all the time about what's going on with the issues and stuff like that. And I also, you know, like I think it's very unnecessary that we have all these backslapping parties. that we go all over the country and we bring nothing back. We go to Washington, what'd you bring back? Nothing. You go to Austin, what'd you bring back? Nothing. But, I hear this but all the time, but no, don't tell me about the labor pain, show me the baby, and these people can't produce. So, where do we go from here? Well, and you talk about this next election cycle.
I go back. Since 2000, you and I know each other since 2000. How many mayors have we had? 3, right? We had Betty Flores, Raul Salinas, and we have our current mayor, Pete Sines.
What are you talking about, mayors?
Mayors, okay.
Oh.
How many city managers have we had, acting, sitting, and interim? We had Flores, right, Perez. We had Larry Dolina.
Mm-hmm.
We had Ralph Garcia. We had Carlos Villarreal. We had Olivares and Horacio de Leon, and now we have Eds and I forget the other.
Yeah, and all those guys walked off a very wealthy man.
No. Whatever. What I'm getting at is there's 8.
There what?
There's 8. Eight city managers. Countless. I mean, more than a dozen city council have come in and out and voted in and out.
Oh, yeah.
What I'm getting at is, and we still have the same problems. It's back to the directors. They don't allow anything to grow. You put somebody else in there, and they're going to say, "Okay, you know what? We're doing fine."
Well, let me ask you a question. How would you like to be some department director, and you're making $150,000 a year, which you thought you would never make that kind of money in your entire lifetime, because you were playing favoritism to some politician to pull a few strings so you could get in, and you got this really cushy job with this Cadillac insurance plan, and you stay there forever, and you're making this. I mean, I'm jealous. I really couldn't go to sleep at night being that way, but yeah, I understand what you're saying. And these people need to be replaced. I thought the city of Laredo was doing that.
I still have faith. I have faith.
Well, that's all you have to go. But yeah, you have to have faith.
But
my problem is I want to see change, and I'm getting kind of old, my friend.
And to the hate groups out there, and the guys in our Laredo, guys, come up with some solutions. You guys, Vish was a nice guy. We used to talk all the time. Something happened along the way. Something occurred to him. Some of his followers there either blew too much smoke.
You talking about Vish?
I'm talking about Vish. Vish was a cool guy. Something around there just ticked him off, and he became very angry and spiteful.
Well, you got a guy that
and
has run for several different, way off different, not even close. Look, Vish ran for school board. He ran for Justice of the Peace, lost, and now he ran for city council. He lost. So yeah, he's a little ticked off about that. Why did he lose? Do you know?
What's your opinion? Why he lost?
Well, a large part of that is he's not Hispanic. He doesn't relate to this culture.
I doubt it. But what I
Are you calling? Well,
no, I don't think that he's race or ethnicity has anything.
Oh, I think that played a big part in that.
No, you got a bunch of angles that have been.
Well, I'm not talking about Anglos. I'm talking about people from India.
No, I wouldn't even go there. I think what happened was
I'll go there.
His association with that hate group. Everybody bitching, everybody coming out, and people said, you know what, we don't want enough. And I think that's what happened. And unfortunately, I
think he's a horrible communicator. I think when he talks, people don't understand what the hell he's saying. I think a lot of it, we talk about, we talk about cultures, okay? This is Hispanic. This is everybody here is Hispanic. Very few people like me, they're not walking around too much. We don't have a lot of blacks in this town. We don't have a lot of whites in this town. It's Hispanic. And everywhere you go, they're speaking Spanish, which is fine. Free country, okay? But I love Hispanic community. I'm from San Antonio. I've been here for 20 years, and this and that and the other. But I wouldn't run for office because you know why? I don't speak the language, number one. Number two is, unless you, I'm not saying you can't win if you're not Hispanic here down, but it's hard. And let me tell you something. I think Vish was a horrible communicator. I think he still is a horrible communicator. I think he'll always be a horrible communicator because he's not from here. He's from a other side of the planet.
You know, I won't take it that way.
I can't even understand what the hell he's saying half the time.
I won't even take it that way, and not making fun or anything of that.
I'm not making fun. I'm just telling you the facts.
No, yes, no. Here's my opinion. And opinions vary, and mine vary in this other format. Vish was a good guy, okay? Something along the way, he got brought up with him. Sometimes they say, the whole saying, do not go hunting monsters because you end up being the monster.
You know what? If he would have got
happened to
elected city council, he would have been so disruptive.
If he would have gotten elected in city council here, he would have never passed anything because nobody there would have voted.
It would have been a nightmare.
Okay? Like I said, when you chase a monster, don't let that monster bite you, you'll end up becoming like him. And that's what happened to Vish.
Well, you know,
unfortunately, I wish Vish could sit back.
I'm not going to apologize for being quite frank about Vish.
I'm not apologizing anything about Vish.
But let me tell you something. You know, I'm not running for public office. I'll never run for public office. I'm sitting behind the microphone, and I'm going to tell you my opinion. You don't like you don't like it. That's fine.
And then likewise. But what I'm telling you is, Vish was a good guy. Something along the way. What changed Vish?
I have no, and I don't care.
But you know what?
I just wish he would go away.
No, I wish him the best. I wish him to have success. But by the third shot, you're not wanted in public office here in Laredo.
And all the people that were, did he ever get the message? And it's not that he's running. You know, it's not that he's running for office. Like, well, I want to be a public servant, an administrator for the city of Laredo or the county. He's not doing that. He's just trying to grab an office that he can win. He didn't win the school board when he ran for that. He didn't win for JP, and now he's running. Now he ran for this day. He didn't win for that. So you think he got the message by now, or what?
How many people from El Laredo ran? You had the guy down there, Cisneros. You had Lopez. You had a.
Don't even get me started. Don't even get me started.
We won't go far. You had Vish. You had a girl running for one of the positions in the college. They all lost. Why? Because they're associated to that group. They might mean well. Listen, they might mean well. It started out as
I don't think everybody in that group's bad.
I don't think so. It led to being bad. It led to doxing people's personal lives. It led to blackballing businesses. It led to threatening people. It led not only on Facebook, it led to threatening people out and about. And when I talked to Vish, and I told him, hey, you can't stop.
He plays a little dirty.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, wait a minute. You know, you come to me and you threaten me. A threat's a threat. A lot of people are going to say, they're not going to call 911. They're going to beat the shit out of you. Understand? And that's what's going to happen. So is that group going to become an Antifa-like? Well, they already have Antifa-like tactics. They just have not become violent. When is that group going to go radical?
I see what you're saying.
Understand what I'm saying? They already have the tactics. When is that going to go radical?
Well, you know, it's with the far left right now. Anything goes.
Anything goes. Understand what I'm saying? You know, and we go back to self-defense. Let's go back to self-defense. Let's put back, because you said something earlier today in the show that interested me. Should I start carrying a gun? You have all the right. You have no criminal background. You can go right now and take a test, get proficient at it. That's the best self-defense there is. Do not take a kick and punch. It's going to take you years to learn. But you can become very good drawing and putting two in center mass and stopping the threat very quickly. I'm not telling you to go do that. I'm just saying that's the best self-defense. Laws are changing in Texas. In September, brass knuckles are going to be legal. Okay? Carrying a mace, one of these, is going to be legal.
Well, last year, we're going to live in a violent society. If that's the way that's what's going. That's what.
So Texas is preparing itself for something. Yeah. Something's coming down that we don't know about.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting at is, when you see a threat, what a threat is to you might vary from what a threat is to me. Okay, somebody might say, I'm gonna take you down. on the internet, I'm going to take you down, or you know what, I'm going to destroy you. Destroy to me means to kill. I don't know what it means to you, but it does to me. So when somebody says I'm going to destroy you, that means you're going to wipe me out. That's a different format.
Do you get threats all like that?
And then when you get, no, there's others, yeah, I've had some. And when you get some in there and you call the police and the police officer comes up and says, oh, well, destroy doesn't mean that to me, it's what threat implies to that person. If you can no longer retreat, by law, you have the right to protect yourself. So when you have somebody that's going up to your daughter or to your wife walking down the street because they're campaigning and says, I'm going to do this to your daughter, I'm going to do that to your daughter. And what I'm saying, some of the threats that happen from people associated to that group, and people retaliate, make police reports, it was never followed through. Why? Because the police are controlled by who? The city council. And you have 3 public officials right now that are very pro our Laredo. And so our Laredo was protected.
So that one being George Algal and the other one being Velma?
Right.
Is that what you're talking about? Well, you know, they're a political activist group. They were cheering for these people. They weren't being, they were being biased. And that takes them out of the category of being a community watchdog organization. I understand what you're saying.
You became a hate group. It became a hate group.
Now Vish is so, what are you saying, that Vish is so mad that he gets up behind the podium at city council and he starts talking and he's mad and he's talking about stuff on the city charter and definition of words. What this means and what that doesn't mean. I mean, it's a waste of time. It's non-productive. And if you have a solution to a problem, then you get behind the podium and say what your solution is. Don't be chastising. I know some of his group gets up there and says, this is the worst city council that ever, blah, 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 blah. Who wants to hear that nonsense? You know, you want to hear that nonsense, go to your favorite talk radio program, your favorite podcast, and listen to it. But a lot of what I say is satire, nonsense, if you will. But I'm trying to make a point each time I go after somebody, I personally attack somebody that needs it. People that don't need it, I won't do it. But these people here that are running this government. You could sit here all day and talk about their downfalls and what they're not doing. That's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about issues. I don't want to talk about personalities or why you ran. I have my opinion about Vish. I think Vish he's a horrible communicator. You might like him. I don't like the way he walks. I don't like the way he dresses. I don't like the way he talks. I don't like the way he presents himself. I don't like any of that.
To me, he lost it a long time ago, and he lost it in the sense of, and Vish, I'm not attacking you whichever way you think I am. I'm sorry. What I'm saying is, what happened to the good guy become Dr. Jekyll become Hyde? You became Hyde. Come back to Jekyll.
Well, he should realize at his age that he's maybe not cut out for politics in Laredo, Texas. And my suggestion to him is, if you want to start all over again, learn from your mistakes, go somewhere else and run for office. There's plenty of places to run for office in this country. But here in Laredo, we have to start electing officials that we need a city manager right now that comes in with a baseball bat. And what I mean by that is he comes in and he's strong. He goes from one department, all 28 departments, he goes from one to the other and he rearranges the whole department. That's his job. And he's got to be the boss. Like Scully in San Antonio, she was there for over 20 years. And then you're talking about earlier about what we have 8 or 9 since 2000, and they all walked off with big severance packages, didn't they? This last guy walked off with $700,000 at least.
And good for him. And I say good for him because...
Well, it's not good for us. It might be good for him.
But it's good for him. But I'm going to tell you why. Who made the contracts? Who made the contracts?
The citizens of Laredo don't like being raped and pillaged for their tax dollars like that. I mean, that is not right.
But who made the contract?
I don't care who made the contract.
That's
the
who's at fault.
Yeah, well,
Whoever said, yeah, that's a great contract, then that's at fault. But if the contract was passed, it was passed, so he did a good job.
well, they gave him a raise 6 months earlier, and then they wanted to get him out because he pissed somebody off or whatever. But this is King Carlos was the same way, and Dovalina wound up in Cotulla. He's a great city manager for Cotulla. He's been there for a long time, and but you need a strong city manager. Carlos Video was a strong city manager.
And to me, I think that was one of the biggest mistakes was removing him.
Yeah, but one of the things about him was, he told city council no, like with the Mercy Hospital, they voted for the city to buy that and make offices out of it for the city, for the administration, city of Laredo, and he looked at that one and he goes, no, you're not going to do that. How about that? You're not going to do that. I won't allow you to do that. So it never happened. It never happened. And here's Porcindo Caranco. He's trying to flip this thing and make a few bucks. He's been stuck with it ever since. And it's been a nightmare to him. And here's another thing I want to talk about. Let's talk about issues. We talk about these idiots that are in city council, like the one that, I could go on and on and on, like the one that flipped on the water bill. I was for it, but now I'm not for it. George Algelt did that, and one of the city councilmen from the south side did that. I was for it, I wasn't for it, but now I'm for it, that kind of thing. When you get people behind closed doors and you go, you're going to vote this way, or, we're going to do this, or you're not going to get this, and we're never going to let you speak again, and all this other. That's how they rule here, by intimidation. And when you have a weak mayor, and I know the mayor is only supposed to be an ambassador to the city of Laredo, but he does have the bully pulpit. But all he cares about is his ego. I'm tall, good-looking Hispanic man, and I put my mariachi stuff on, and I go to Washington, put my big sombrero on. He's more about Mexico than he is about the city of Laredo. And I understand his heritage and all this other kind of stuff. That's great. But when you go to these places to talk about business, talk about business. Don't party. Don't say, hey, look at me. I'm the city of Laredo's mayor. Who cares? And don't go down to Mexico all the time and like you're some kind of big shot. You got business to do here. Let's do business here. Let's keep these people here in Laredo and let Henry Cuellar do his job as far as bringing in federal dollars.
And he has brought in federal dollars.
Yes, I have no qualms with Henry Cuellar. He does what his constituents want him to do. And his ideology, I'm not in total alignment with that, but for the most part, he's a good congressman for this district.
Yeah. There's some issues that people might say about the fence, and he removed the fence and the security and all that stuff.
Well, what fence?
Remember that barbed wire fence?
Do you see a fence here?
No, that barbed wire fence that they put up there, the military did a couple of months back, and he had it removed.
Well, look, we've always had fences here. I don't know if anybody's ever noticed, but there's a fence alongside the river over there by the college campus downtown. There's a fence by the river over by the other college on the south side. Laredo Community College. There's a fence there too. The government is not going to put a wall here in Laredo where you're looking out through downtown and there's a wall. Ain't going to happen. And everybody's worried about that. But it's not going to happen. Trust me, that's where all your men are. That's where all your boots on the ground are. That's not where they're going to put a wall. They don't want to destroy our view of looking across the river into Mexico. That's not going to happen. But why do they make such a big deal out of it? Why does the city government do things like they're not apolitical at all? Why do they get involved with government matters? Or state matters when it comes to, say, like, for example, sanctuary cities. Why do they have to have a referendum and vote for a referendum to be pro-sanctuary cities? What good does that do? Why do they have to bring Nancy Pelosi down here to piss poor Trump off up there? or the bad Trump, or whatever you want to call him. If you don't like him, you don't like him. He's your president. Get over it. You lost the election. And you're going to lose the next one too, by the way.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. And this time it's going to be a lot more people. You know, when you see all the different conventions that they have and the fundraisers that they have and the cheerleader parties and the pep rallies for these presidential candidates, and you have 275,000 in the stadium in Florida, and you have 50 for Harris, and Beto got 70, and there's not even if you put them all together, you're not going to have that much impact. Okay,
Oh,
the silent vote,
if
the
you-
silent vote is out there, and the silent vote is going to push Trump back, and that's the
Well,
reality.
the independents and moderates, you know, most, even though most Hispanics grew up, and I grew up a Democrat too. But
it's changed.
They
I grew up a
wear
Democrat
the
too.
title, they wear the badge or whatever, but when they get into the voting booth, they don't. They know the nonsense. They can read right through it. You know, I mean, if you were running for president, you were Trump, say, this would be like a dream come true. The way these people are acting, with these people, with the stuff that's coming out of their mouth. It's like a gift from God, you know. So thank you. I mean, just keep talking, And but the Democratic Party now believes that it's dumbed down base. They got more dumbed down base from the millennials on down. But anybody over 40 years old is going to
Anybody over 30 is like, what?
Yeah, well, millennials can go all the way up to like 38, 39 years old right now. I think that's a cutoff, but
Really?
yeah. And then you have Generation X, Generation Y, and all these people that are being indoctrinated into these colleges and stuff like that. That free's great. Free, there ain't no such thing as free. We all know that, right? But be careful what you wish for. But here's what I've been saying for a long time. These people eventually, like turning Texas blue, that can very easily happen.
That can happen in a heartbeat.
That can very easily happen because you're getting.
And I'm going to tell you why I think that it's on the verge going in there. We have a lot of people moving in from other states, liberal states. But I will blame the Republican Party here in Texas. They do not support their candidates. They do not help them out. They'll do the little pep rallies and so on and so forth. And all of a sudden they tell you good luck.
Well, the Republicans are a bunch of pansies, man.
You know what I'm saying? So, and that's what happens, especially here in Laredo. When was the last Republican elected? They say
Probably Joe Guetta or
Joe Guerra, Jean Belmontes maybe, but it's bipartisan on the city council. So in reality, when was the last one that ran as a Republican that won here? Aldo Tatangelo?
Well, when you had the straight party ticket voting, you don't have that anymore. So I think a Republican could go. You know, look, I have a lot of people ask me, why don't you run for office? You know, because I would like to go in.
Why don't you run for office?
Because I don't. That's not my calling. My calling is, look, for me, being behind a microphone is the only thing these guys fear. You know, and if I can have an audience like the audiences that I've had in the past, and if I can build this new social media program up, podcasting, whatever you want to call it, to where I want it to be, if I could have all these people listen to the program, not only just for factual value, but for entertainment value. Like I don't, you know, I people might not like my approach, but I tell it like it is. What you see is what you get, and you know, you can snow the snowman, but don't bullshit me. Okay, because I know, I study, I do my research, I do my investigative reporting. You know, like who knew this morning about the story that broke in McAllen, about these two companies I was telling you about earlier that come in? Who knew? Do you know how many people that makes mad on Facebook when I put something up there like that? Hey, you know, McAllen just created another 450 jobs today from the private sector. What are we doing? And people, for some reason, they get mad. And they start writing but this is engagement. This is what I'm trying to do with this program, is I'm trying to get people engaged. Many people come up to me and say, you know what, I think you're an asshole, Jay, but I listen to your show. And I don't always agree with what you say, but at least you bring it up, you bring it out. We want to engage, but we're just not there yet. We're just not there yet. So where's the breaking point? Does Laredo have to go in default? I mean, you know, you saw an ad, not an ad, but an article in the paper the other day about the middle class divide here. How housing and the middle class are separating. Like, you can't afford a house in this town unless you're a federal employee, or you're working for the school district, or you're working for the city. Nobody else can afford a house here.
Or the county.
Or the county, you can't afford a house here. So when we're $650 million in the hole, $1 billion with interest. So what do we have to do? Do we have to default before people get really pissed off? Do we really? Did they not slap you in the face with this water thing? All of a sudden we need a $179 million infrastructure project that we knew about, and they act like they're surprised about it, but we knew about this. People in the know knew about this for the last 10, 12 years. We knew about it. And what did they do? They didn't do anything. They didn't say. Then they built a Pico water plant. What happened to that? A disaster. A disaster. Everything that they touch turns into a disaster. And what do people do? They don't do anything. So what do these guys do? They continue on the way they've been for years and years and years, and they're not, you're not going to hold them accountable. You're going to let them run loose. Well, that's the deal. Like poor George Allgate, he sees the writing on the wall.
Oh, he's a smart guy, because there's going to be a lot of people running against him if he would have stayed there.
Well, he sees the writing on the wall, and I said, that way to go, George. You've been in there 7 years, when Jorge Vera was snorting cocaine, that city councilman over at AJ's, and him and I went out on a recall petition. We got him enough signatures to, but you see, now
talking about a councilman that actually did something was Jorge Vera.
Who?
Jorge Vera actually did stuff in this area.
Well, Jorge Vera was a nice guy. No, here's been. I never had a problem with Jorge Vera on the city council, but he was a party animal.
Well, that's his prerogative. And if he got caught doing what he got caught, he got punished.
At least if he's going to offer a woman cocaine, at least try to find out her name first and maybe where she works. So how about that?
I don't know the details of that. So you're just telling me something like, okay. But on another note, continue doing what you're doing, because you've continue doing what you're doing. You're doing a hell of a job. And
well, I need this on the border thing,
folks, let's get on the border. Let's push Jay forward.
On the border, we're going to put a studio in Edinburgh.
That's awesome. And what I'm saying is keep moving forward, because you've given light to so many that have come out, and you've influenced so many others.
Yeah, but we have a studio here, and one in Edinburgh. It's going to be called On the Border. Our first show is tonight. And we're going to be talking about politics from here all the way, not necessarily Brownsville, but all the way through the Rio Grande Valley. There's some things that come out of Brownsville every now and then,
We live in Texas, but you know what I like about the valley? You just said it. Brownsville, McAllen, Harlingen, and all that, they might have inner fights amongst each other, but when they go somewhere, it's called the valley.
The valley.
Here, Laredo has fights all over the place, and they call themselves, I'm from the west side, from the north side, from the south side. No, be Laredo. Start being united.
They should be an Emerald City,
Okay.
like it should be. We should have World Trade Centers here and the whole 9 yards. We should have skyscrapers here. Seriously.
You're absolutely correct, because we have the money, it flows through here. And again, thank you for being here.
Sure. Pleasure.
And it's always great fun, even though sometimes we don't.
7 o'clock tonight. Well, no.
We don't agree, and it's fun. And
it's an arena of ideas.
And we just shoot back and forth, and sometimes we just talk on the phone and shoot the shit.
We talk all the time on the phone. So.
But so I'm glad you came here, and I'm glad you're doing well, and the best for your new show. Till next time, peace.
Gloves Off is always on point. On point. Bringing you the best on current issues, community affairs, and the happenings around us. This segment of Gloves Off is brought to you by the best, so pay them a visit. Check them out. This is Gloves Off.
Huh?